Ouch! Get out of the way. Who rides a wheelchair on such a crowded train? Be considerate of others. My former colleague yelled loudly on the train and kicked her wheelchair hard. No. The impact made her scream. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Even I couldn't stand his outrageous behavior. Damn it. Everyone's a moron. Muttering this, he stormed off the train, shoulders hunched in anger. The other passengers were stunned by his unbelievable attitude. A few hours later, he would face his comeuppance and be plunged into misery, though he had no idea yet. I'm Mike Johnson, 43 years old and single. I live with my sister, who is 3 years older than me, at our family home. I work as a clerk at a local bank. I played rugby in high school and college, so I have a solid build, and if I may say so myself, I'm not bad looking. However, there's a reason I've remained single all these years. My father passed away when I was a child, and my mother also died of an illness when I was in 8th grade. My sister, who was in high school at the time, gave up on college and got a job at a local company. With no relatives to rely on, my sister had no choice but to go to work. Since she loved flowers, she got a job at a local flower shop. She was busy with both housework and her job, working tirelessly every day. While attending high school, I helped with chores like laundry and cooking as much as I could. After graduating from high school, I planned to work too, but my sister told me, Mike, you have good grades, so you should go to college. I want you to do your best for my sake too. Don't worry about the tuition. We still have our parents' inheritance. I took her advice and decided to go to college. I resolved to study hard, get a good job, and make life easier for her. Since I was interested in economics, I enrolled in the economics department of the local university. Of course, I couldn't let her work alone, so I worked part-time at a bar at night to help support the household. When I was a senior in college and starting my job search, an incident occurred. My sister got involved in a traffic accident while making a delivery. Fortunately, her life was not in danger, but she severely fractured her leg. The doctor did his best, but my sister was left paralyzed from the waist down and had to use a wheelchair. Unable to work and walk freely, she lost her spirit day by day. She had worked herself to the bone for me, and now it was my turn to repay her. I took care of her and accompanied her to rehab every day. To cheer her up, I pushed her wheelchair and took her to various places. Although I was quite popular, I didn't have time for a girlfriend. Gradually, my sister regained her spirit, and within a few months, she started to enjoy life in a wheelchair. I initially aimed for a high-paying job in the city, but to take care of my sister, I shifted my focus to local companies. I landed a job at a local bank near our home. Now it was my turn to work hard and support my sister. After graduating from college and starting my job, I threw myself into my work. I was assigned to the sales department at the bank. With good communication skills and confidence in my stamina from playing rugby, the sales job suited me well. I managed to secure a fair number of contracts and consistently met my monthly targets. However, after work, I had to go home and do household chores. So, I went home exactly on time every day. I turned down all invitations for drinks from my colleagues. Because I was fairly good looking, I was well liked by the female employees. However, my colleagues often resented me for being good at my job and popular, but not social. The main person who held a grudge was John, who was in the same sales department. John was the same age as me, but an elite graduate from Harvard. He looked a bit flashy, but with his smooth talking skills, he was surprisingly good at sales. His father ran a business, so he was a rich kid. He was also good at socializing and ingratiating himself with the bosses. While I remained a regular employee, John was on a fast track to promotion, favored by our superiors. Despite this, John saw me as a rival and often tried to one-up me or play pranks on me. Hey Mike, there's a group date today, but we're short one guy. You're free anyway, right? Come along for once. Sorry, I have plans. I occasionally got invited but turned him down like this. "You're still antisocial. That's why you'll never get promoted," he would say sarcastically. John's academic snobbery was also terrible. When he found out I graduated from an obscure local college, he persistently mocked me for it. If I made even a small mistake, he'd say, "This is why we shouldn't hire grads from third-rate colleges. They're just useless trash." And he'd blame me. I tried to avoid interacting with him as much as possible. And before I knew it, nearly 20 years had passed. Our local bank, hit by the impact of a weak dollar, was gradually forced to downsize. Local banks like ours, with poor profitability, were hit hard by the downsides of a weak dollar. Eventually, the business collapsed, and we went bankrupt. At 43, I found myself unemployed. On the other hand, thanks to diligent rehab, my sister, while still reliant on a cane, had managed to walk on her own again. She currently works from home, doing flower arrangements. My income is decent, so there's no need to rush into another job. "You've worked so hard for so long. Why not take it easy for a while?" My sister told me this, but given my age, I knew that the older I got, the harder it would be to find a new job. Just then, I noticed that a major bank not far from home was conducting a large-scale mid-career recruitment drive. It was a well-known megabank that everyone had heard of. I decided to apply and easily passed the document screening, moving on to the first interview. On the day of the interview, I arrived at the venue and ran into someone I didn't want to see. It was John. He was also unemployed and was looking for a new job. John had just finished his interview and was about to leave. "Hey Mike, what a coincidence. I can't believe you're applying to such a big company. You don't know your place, do you?" John mocked me as soon as he saw me. "Well, I can always work at my dad's company, so I don't really need a job. But I thought I'd try applying to a big bank just for fun." Even though I didn't ask, he kept talking, subtly trying to one-up me. "Well, you'll probably fail, but good luck with your job hunt." With a loud laugh, he left. It had been about 2 months since I last saw John, and he hadn't changed a bit. I handled the interview smoothly and waited for the results. A few days later, I got a call saying I had made it to the final interview. Then came the day of the final interview. "Mike, you'll be fine. Do your best," my sister said as she sent me off. When I arrived at the station platform, it was packed with people, likely due to a nearby event. As I navigated through the crowd, I noticed a woman in a wheelchair looking around in distress. A station staff member was helping her get on the train, but she had no companion with her. Even if she got on the train, she'd be alone in the crowded car. "Excuse me, where are you headed?" "What?" "If you'd like, I can accompany you on the train." Summoning my courage, I spoke to her, and both she and the station staff looked relieved. She appeared to be in her 30s and, upon closer inspection, was very beautiful. Her shoulder-length hair was neatly cut and very shiny. "Would you mind? The train is so crowded, and I was a bit anxious, thank you." When the train arrived, I helped the staff guide her to the wheelchair space inside. I made sure to lock the brakes securely after moving the wheelchair. It was stylish and had a unique design, probably foreign-made. "You're quite skilled with the wheelchair." "Yes, my sister used to be in a wheelchair." "Used to? Is she okay now?" "Yes, thanks to rehab, she's able to walk now. She still needs a cane, though." "Your sister is lucky to have a brother like you." "I envy her. My job keeps me so busy that I rarely make it to rehab. I need to try harder." Her warm smile made me blush. Since her stop was the same as mine, I decided to accompany her until we got off the train. As we rode, I noticed a man in a suit glancing at us repeatedly. It was John. When he recognized me, he made his way through the crowded car with a smirk on his face. "Well, if it isn't Mike, did you actually make it to the final interview?" "Yeah. Did you get through the first round, John?" "Of course, with my background, I got accepted just with my resume, but I'm shocked you made it to the final round. Unbelievable. John noticed the woman in the wheelchair and gave her a puzzled look. So, who's this, a friend of yours? Oh, just someone I know. But isn't it a bit inconsiderate to ride a wheelchair on such a crowded train? John seemed unhappy about the wheelchair taking up space in the packed train. But this spot is reserved for wheelchairs, so it's fine. Not wanting to enjoy further, I brushed him off. Eventually, the train arrived at our stop. I waited with the woman in the wheelchair until everyone else had disembarked. See you and good luck. John sneered as he walked past us. He tripped over the wheelchair and almost fell. John glared at us and loudly clicked his tongue. Get out of the way. Who rides a wheelchair on such a crowded train? Think about others. He shouted angrily and kicked her wheelchair hard. No. Susan screamed from the impact. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Even I couldn't tolerate John's outrageous behavior. Damn it. Everyone here is just useless. John muttered as he stormed off the train, shoulders hunched in anger. The other passengers were stunned by his unbelievable attitude. I collected myself and pushed the wheelchair off the train. Sorry about my acquaintance's rude behavior. I apologized to the woman. Don't worry about it, it's fine. He seemed like quite a handful, she said with a knowing smile. Thank you for your help. You have an interview today, right? Good luck, she added. We were about to part ways when she tried to move her wheelchair, but it wouldn't budge. What? It's not moving. It seemed the wheelchair was malfunctioning. I crouched down to inspect it. The shaft appeared to be broken, preventing the wheels from turning. It probably broke when John kicked it earlier. What should I do? I have an important business meeting today, the woman said, looking troubled. Is your office close to the station? Yes, it's about a 5-minute walk. After thinking for a moment, I decided to ask her directly. Excuse me, but how much do you weigh? She looked surprised by the sudden question. What? My weight? It's 45 kilos, but why? 45 kilos. That should be no problem. Would it be okay if I carried you? Carried me? She seemed confused by my suggestion. I used to play rugby, so I'm confident in my strength. If it's just a 5-minute walk, I can carry you there. But you have an interview to get to, don't you? Don't worry about it, honestly. I wasn't too keen on joining the same company as that guy anyway. After thinking for a moment, the woman said, Then I guess I'll take you up on your offer. Once I get to the office, I have a spare wheelchair, so I'll manage from there. She expressed gratitude. I left the broken wheelchair at the station and started carrying the woman princess style. People stared at us, wondering what was going on. The woman blushed deeply, clearly embarrassed. Sorry, but can you put me down? This is so embarrassing. She must have been very embarrassed to say that. What are you talking about? Putting you down here wouldn't help. I know it's embarrassing, but we'll be there soon, so just hang in there. I walked smoothly while carrying her. Sorry, I must be heavy. Not at all. When my sister was in a wheelchair, I often carried her like this. She was a bit on the chubby side, so that was quite the workout. Oh, you'd get in trouble if your sister heard that. We seemed to hit it off, and our conversation flowed easily. Having that conversation, we headed towards the company where the woman worked. A few minutes later, when we arrived at the front of her company, I was stunned and couldn't help but stand still in surprise. What a coincidence this was. I felt a strange sense of fate. When I hurried to the interview room, I realized I was 30 minutes late. The interview seemed to be over, and the participants were leaving. My name is Mike. I'm sorry for being late. I said hello to the employee who was tidying up. Excuse me, the interview is already over. There was a small accident. Is there any way I can still have the interview? But it's been over 30 minutes. The interviewers have already left, so it's not possible. I see, but isn't there any way to make an exception? I tried to plead, but they wouldn't budge. Then John passed by, smirking as he spoke to me. "Hey, late for the final interview. You've got some nerve showing up now. But it doesn't matter. You'd fail the interview anyway. So why bother?" He mocked. I had finally reached my limit and confronted John. "Enough is enough. It's your fault I was late." "What? Blaming others for your own tardiness, typical of a third-rate college grad. You kicked the wheelchair, and it broke. That's why it couldn't move." "You kicked a wheelchair?" The employee frowned upon hearing this. "No, it's not like that. It was just crowded, and the wheelchair bumped into me when we were getting off the train." John hurriedly tried to explain. "Bringing a wheelchair onto such a crowded train is just inconsiderate." He added, "Inconsiderate? Who's really lacking consideration here? Have you ever thought about how difficult it is for people in wheelchairs?" I shot back. As John and I argued, the employee stepped in to mediate. "All right, but regardless, we can't conduct the interview now. Please leave." "Yes, I understand. Sorry for the trouble," I said, apologizing and turning to leave. "Wait." The woman in the wheelchair, whom I had met on the train, arrived just then. "I will conduct his final interview," she announced. John burst into laughter upon hearing this. "Who would have thought? It's that annoying woman in the wheelchair from the train. You can't be serious about conducting the interview," he said, laughing uncontrollably. The employee quickly scolded John. "Hey, show some respect. That's the executive director you're talking to." "What do you mean, executive director?" John looked puzzled. It turned out that the company the woman worked for was the very same bank where I was interviewing. The coincidence surprised both of us. And to find out she was the executive director was even more shocking. "I don't see any problem with me conducting the interview. Can you please make the preparations?" she asked. The employee considered the request seriously. "Susan conducting the interview. I wonder what the department head will say. I'm the executive director. As an officer, it's perfectly fine for me to conduct the final interview. I'll inform the HR director later." "But you have an important business meeting today, right?" "I still have time. Interviewing one person won't be a problem." "Well, if Susan insists." The employee reluctantly agreed. "All right, let's proceed with the final interview," Susan said, guiding me into the conference room. John, who had been listening, seemed utterly confused. "That woman is the executive director, and she's conducting the interview. What's going on?" Susan turned to John, who stood there in shock, and said, "And as for you, your behavior on the train will be factored into your final interview evaluation." "Excuse me, what do you mean by that?" John, now speaking in polite language, started to panic. "Our bank looks for more than just experience and skills in our candidates. We also value character and teamwork." Hearing this, John's face turned pale. "No way." John apologized to Susan. "I am truly sorry. I didn't know you were the executive director of this bank," and spoke rudely. Susan sighed deeply. "You really don't get it, do you? John, whether she's the executive director or not, your behavior was unacceptable. Your habit of looking down on others is disgraceful." "He's right. Your actions made it clear that you are not someone I would want to work with." Realizing he had no hope, John dropped to his knees to apologize. "I'm really sorry. I haven't been able to find another job, and if I don't get this one, I'm out of options. Please forgive me." "It's too late for apologies. Also, that wheelchair you kicked is a high-end Italian model. You'll be billed for the repair costs." Leaving John groveling on the floor, Susan and I entered the conference room. The final interview proceeded in a friendly atmosphere, thanks to Susan. A week later, I received the news. I had passed the final interview and got the job. "Congratulations. I knew you could do it, Mike." My sister was overjoyed and said, "I knew you could do it, Mike." That day, she prepared a full course of my favorite dishes. I started working energetically in the sales department of the megabank. With the significantly higher salary, my life became much easier. As for John, he didn't just get rejected, it got worse. It turned out that his father's company had received loans from Susan's bank. John's behavior towards Susan reached his father, the president of the company, who was furious. The bank immediately cut off their loans. Without the loans, his father's company ran into financial trouble and is now on the brink of bankruptcy. John was disowned by his father and now lives alone in an old apartment. He struggles with tough day labor jobs. As for Susan, I introduced her to the hospital where my sister did her rehab. Susan's lower body paralysis was also due to a spinal cord injury, just like my sister's. The hospital was known for its excellent rehabilitation program. According to the doctor, with a few years of effort, Susan could walk just like my sister. My sister and I also continued to accompany Susan in her rehab. As we continued our rehab together, Susan and I naturally developed a romantic relationship. When the local bank went bankrupt, I worried about the future, but I ended up getting a job at a mega bank and found a girlfriend. Life is full of surprises. After dating for a few years, I proposed to Susan. She happily accepted. Since she still uses a wheelchair, she moved into my fully accessible home with my sister and me. We had remodeled it for my sister, so there were no difficulties for Susan living there. Susan and my sister became close friends, and we all enjoyed our daily lives together. A year after getting married, Susan finally managed to walk on her own. We began planning the wedding we had postponed. Susan wanted to wait until she could walk to have the ceremony. Today is our wedding day. My sister was the happiest for us. She attended the wedding with her boyfriend. Mike, I'm sorry my situation delayed your marriage for so long. I was worried you might never get married, she said with a laugh. Laughing through her tears, my sister was crying uncontrollably. Mike, your happiness means the most to me. Congratulations. I wish you and Susan a lifetime of happiness. Seeing her tears, I started crying too. Thank you, sis. I am here today because of you. I want you to be happy too. Then the reception began, and the host took the microphone. Now, let's welcome the bride and groom. Please give them a big round of applause. As the doors opened, I entered carrying Susan in her wedding dress. Am I too heavy? Are you okay? Susan asked with concern. I'm confident in my strength, so it's fine, I replied with a smile. I want to cherish this happiness forever.